Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good afternoon or evening. It is the Earth Master here on this Sunday into the weekend, August 20th, 2023. It's about 5:33 p.m. California time. And let's get rid of that radar real quick here. Stand by for a second. Good thing I checked that. We got a bunch of earthquake activity ramping up in Southern California today, along with the arrival of Tropical Storm Hilary. Now, we were watching a little swarming over here across the area west of Santa Clarita over the past 24 hours. We had seen some 2s and quite a few smaller quakes prior to this 5.1 that shook things up earlier this afternoon in the area of Santa Paula area. It looks like Fontana, this whole area felt it broadly across the region. Let me bring up the DigiFeel reports and see how many people chimed in. I'm sure it's a big number. Let's see, 5.1, one of the larger quakes we've seen in a little while. Looks like it was felt all over a good portion of the Southern California area, from San Diego northward, possibly up into the Bay Area. A lot of folks in the San Joaquin Valley areas also reported feeling this 5.1 earthquake that struck again earlier this afternoon. Ventura looks to be the main area that felt some shaking. Now, we got quite a few folks responding and commenting on my last video about what they felt. I appreciate it. Keep those comments coming in because they are, of course, of scientific value. Again, mostly light to moderate shaking, jolt-wise. This is in the area of a fault system that's very capable of producing a significant size earthquake. You think Southern California, you got the San Andreas Fault, right? For now, that's quiet. But you don't forget about these other fault systems out here that kind of make up the plate boundary as well between the Pacific down south and the North American plate up here to the north. That's the plate boundary and the solid red line, the San Andreas Fault, sleeping for now. We'll see how the rainfall affects that fault system, plate boundary, in the days to come. But this fault system here, the Mission Ridge Fault, is it's a pretty dangerous fault system out here. I was just looking at this. It's part of a fault system between the Mission Ridge, the Arroyo Fault, Arroyo, right? Arroyo, I think that's correct. Okay, and the Santa Ana Faults make up an essentially continuous fault system running west to east from a couple different communities here. It has most likely ruptured in the Holocene times, though the youngest dated surface rupture is roughly 30,000 years old. Prior to that, the fault ruptured about 38,000 years before the present. Between the last measured rupture and the present, there has been about 11 meters of offset. See that? Between the last measured rupture and the present, there has been 11 meters of offset. That is pretty significant accumulation there. So on average time between quakes of about 8,000 years, with an average slip of about 3 meters per major quake, seems quite possible. We're looking at maybe 6.5 to 7.3, specifically on this area of the fault system here. Again, it kind of runs over here west, offshore slightly, and then extends over here to the east. There's quite a few fault systems here. A lot of strain built up, obviously, in numerous faults out here. California just, it's not a good thing. The future, for earthquakes are quite great out here. Now, whether I think these are foreshocks or not, good probability. I would say over the next 24 hours or so, we need to be on guard for something potentially bigger around this area, around this fault system. It's been quite a while since we've seen a big quake, right? Let's see. The youngest dated surface rupture is roughly 30,000 years old. Prior to that, the fault ruptured about 38,000 years before the present. So it looks like every 8,000 years or so. But either way, that's a high accumulated slip rate, 11 meters of offset. Not a huge interval, but it's been quite a long time, right? Since we've seen a major rupture here. Looks like, a long time ago. This is not a good fault system. It is really close to well, north of Los Angeles, Ventura area as well. This region has many potential quake possibilities out here. So let's look at the 5.1 once again. See if USGS has put out an earthquake forecast here, far as the data goes. So it looks like they have no review on it yet, far as what people or what the geologist believes happening. According to our forecast, this is from the USGS itself. There is a 5% chance of one or more aftershocks that are larger than the magnitude 5, which can be damaging within the next week. There will be likely smaller aftershocks within the next week with up to 25. Okay, we get it. But of course, a large aftershock can temporarily increase the number of aftershocks. Now, yeah, this is a 1 in 2,000 chance of a magnitude 7.0 or above within the next week. So pay close attention to the next couple days. I think it's a good possibility, considering we really haven't seen much activity on that specific fault in quite a while. Let's look at the historical data here. I want to see what's going on historically, specifically around this area, just this fault. We know Southern California gets big earthquakes, but I just want to look at the earthquake catalog book here, and we're gonna go 6.0. Well, let's do 5.5 and above for this area, since again, it doesn't go back 38,000 years, but we will go back until records have been kept. Not the year 1000. I just kind of put that on there. See what we got here in this area of Southern California with potential. Where'd my faults go? They disappeared. So now I got to be specific about where this is at. Just to the northwest of Santa Paula, in between this area right here. So we're looking at, let's see here. I don't want to get too much in here because we know this area can see some big quakes. I think that kind of covers it. I know Ventura's had some quakes as well. Let's just see what this does here and see what we got. I just put in 5.5 and above. Yeah. Back in 1925. Now that may have been just off this fault, the Red Mountain Fault. There was a 6.8, 1925, coming up on 100 years since that. But I'm not 100% certain that this earthquake's associated with the activity on the fault system right now. But as you can see, there hasn't been any 5.5s or above in this area at all. With the slow accumulation rate, it does take quite a bit of time, but I believe 11 meters is enough offset there to produce a big earthquake within this area. So it's, not saying there's going to be a big one, but with the way this is set up, look at all these earthquakes we've seen prior to the 5.1. Look at all these. Yesterday and today we had ones and twos. Had a 2.5. I believe that was the biggest yesterday, and then we had a 3.3 here just after midnight. 2.5, quite a few smaller quakes as well, and now a 5.1, bunch of threes, bunch of twos. So, are these just all four quakes? Are these all aftershocks? Or is all of this just a sequence of foreshocks coming to something bigger? When I see this type of setup here, it's definitely possible that something bigger could be brewing out here with this fault system. Earthquake swarms out here on a fault that's very capable of producing, what they say, a 7.3. That's a pretty big earthquake swarm. A lot of aftershock activity if these are indeed aftershocks. So I would just be prepared. A lot of folks do live down there. This is very close to Ventura. These are relatively shallow earthquakes. Quite a few folks all over Southern Cal chasing the tropical storm out there felt this earthquake. And do I think that this tropical storm had something to do with it? Potentially. Even though that earthquake swarm happened yesterday and throughout the day today, I was going to call it a typhoon, but the tropical storm here was spinning just off the coast of the Baja California area. And there's definitely been some chat about how hurricanes and cyclones and pressure differences can create strain out here on the plates and the fault systems and produce earthquakes. I had a natural hazards and disasters class I took in school, and we chatted about that. And not all the time, but it also depends on how much stress is built up, how quiet that system's been, or the fault system has been. I firmly believe that the storms can produce a great strain against plate tectonics out here in fault systems that may be close to or should have had earthquakes in the past. Now, right now, we got a lot of rainfall falling over the San Andreas Fault. That's not the fault that kicked off today. This was a different fault where that 5.1 kicked in. But this one here is much bigger. 8.1 is what they're claiming here. There's enough strain and stress built up here. It's overdue. A lot of folks say this is overdue, and it's been a long time since I've seen any tropical system come down here and dump massive amounts of rainfall right on the plate boundary. So it's going to be an interesting deal to watch and see how the plate boundary here is affected by all of this rainfall. Now this here is the El Centro area. Let me back out of here a little bit, see where I'm at. Definitely a stream of rain coming in. It doesn't dissipate up here. This is just as far as the radar imagery covers as far as the range. This area still has a chance of tornadoes. I don't know if there has been any. Right now, there's just flash flood warnings all over the place. See the flash flood in the green boxes there. But within this red outline here, that's the 5% tornado possibility. And that's still up for right now. But all that rainfall falling on top of the San Andreas Fault, we're going to watch and see what happens to it in the coming days. But for now, continue to watch this activity here across the Santa Paula area, Oakview, North Ventura. I do have a seismograph station there. Where'd it go? Parkfield right here. Parkfield now is a ways up here. It's such a little community here. I was down there last year checking out the San Andreas Fault on location, but it's somewhere within this area here, the Parkfield section. So that station that you guys see there on the live stream is definitely capable of picking up the earthquake activity that's taking place there just south. This is Hawaii. That's Hawaii as well. So this hopefully stays up. It looks like we lost some of the data, but if it does go down, then I'll bring up another station nearby. But that's our local station there in Parkfield. Just be prepared. Always have an earthquake plan. Make sure that there's sufficient water, sufficient food that you have just in case. Because it's kind of a big deal, right? Earthquake activity rocking and rolling as a tropical storm barrels down. Speaking of tropical storm, let's bring in is this the latest information here from the National Hurricane Center? It looks like it is. Area of circulation, by the way, is right about here as of 5 p.m. local time here, California. You can see that it's just to the northeast of San Diego. The earthquake swarming area sits right about here. And remember, pressure around this area, you don't have to be right in the hurricane eye wall area to receive different barometric pressure. So I'm sure it's affecting some of these faults out here. But yeah, I'd say it's almost right over the San Andreas Fault right now. There's salton sea, you can barely see it. We are at maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. That's tropical storm category still. It will continue to weaken as it heads up north into Nevada. Moving off at 23 miles per hour to the north. Let's see, is this one of the later radar images? Let me see here. This one's a little mixed up and messed up here, but there's definitely quite a bit of rainfall that has fallen, and more throughout the night is expected. Yeah, and just because you don't see rain over here in Los Angeles doesn't mean it's not happening. It's just these radars, when you pick one, it kind of puts a block out here. in certain regions. So there's definitely quite a bit of rainfall going through Los Angeles. And that's the other thing. All this rainfall is falling right on that fault system. Now we're missing the upper areas because it looks like it's blocked by mountain ranges or something. Let me see here. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. But either way, this is where some of the heaviest rainfall has been occurring. Right where we've seen the 5.1. So aside from pressure, along with tropical storms that, can create earthquakes around the area, we got all this rainfall that could potentially lubricate, so to speak, built up faults. A lot of these fault systems rupture at the surface. So dump inches of rainfall on it, and it doesn't take that long to percolate down below the surface to apply a little bit of lubrication and potentially get some of these faults going. After this is all said and done here, we'll look back at this and see what the what happened, how much rainfall fell, and how much earthquake activity picked up following this event. I think this may go down in the records book here, far as geology studies and plate tectonic studies with regards to rainfall accumulation, quite a bit over a locked fault, and how pressure can create earthquakes out here as well. I think it's definitely noteworthy to watch. So I'm going to leave the radar up here still within our tornado zone where the 5% is. I'm not for sure how late the threat's going to kick up, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Let me see what the latest satellite imagery looks like for California. We've got a lot of clouds up here in Northern California. There's a lot of the upper level clouds. That's kind of weird just to see cloud cover going up north in the upper level, and then it's hitting the Sierra Nevada mountains right here and shooting it over the valley to the west. Really weird deal going on here. I normally don't see cloud cover coming in from the mountain there, the eastern areas of California. Normally it comes up from the south, but this is a whole weird scene here. Definitely this will go in the history books, right? Tropical storm here hitting Southern California. And again, there will be convective bands behind the main area of circulation, which again is outside of the San Diego area. All right, so I wanted to just cover that there with the earthquake activity in Southern California. A lot of people concerned that this may be foreshocks, and it's a little sketchy because of all the activity prior to the 5.1. What's coming up next? The 6.5, 7.3, and all these would be foreshocks. So the best thing to do is just be prepared. Make sure you have an earthquake plan. Ventura sits right along the coast, so with all this rainfall dumping over the area, I'm sure there's potential for mudslides out here as well, not to mention from all the rainfall, but potential earthquake activity. So it's good to be prepared, have an earthquake plan. We'll cover this more later tonight. I will do, of course, a complete update. It's only about 6 o'clock here, California time. And again, the Parkfield, California area is picking up some of that seismic activity. Definitely ones that are probably 2.0 and above. These look like some smaller ones here, but Parkfield, California is the closest station here. I may look around, see if I can find another local station, but it's literally just up the road here. I don't even know what the 5-pointer looked like when it came in. I was out driving around in Chico, so I have to go back and look at that. But either way, just be prepared, folks. Stay safe out there. A lot of rainfall coming in. A lot of rainfall is falling. Tomorrow we'll look at the accumulated rainfall amounts, see who got what. But for now, we'll continue to watch Tropical Storm Hilary as it heads northward, straight north, kind of right into Nevada. Hoping for some rainfall up here in California. Right now we've only had a couple sprinkles, but let me look here real quick. I'm kind of curious to see what the HRR model looks like. Southwest right here. This will work. Mesoscale HRR model. There's the current radar imagery with some of the thunderstorms out there in Southern Cal. This whole thing obviously tracking north, center of circulation, but it can wrap around. you got that counterclockwise rotation, which could bring some rain into Northern California. It doesn't, well, looks like there's a little bit trying to seep into Northern California. We'll see how that plays out. That's the HRRR model, which is mostly the most accurate weather forecast model. The 3KM model shows about the same. Maybe a little bit more aggressive with thunderstorm activity back behind it. But yeah, so just continue to watch that. Again, let me know, guys, if you felt the earthquake. For those that didn't report on it yet, I do appreciate the ones that have reported. Also, if you have any pictures or video you'd like to share here on the channel, I will be showing those tonight in the update video of weather. If you guys got some heavy rain, maybe some flooding out there, some high winds, send your pictures and video to earthmastermail@gmail.com. Let us know your name, where you're at, and we'll put it on the Earthmaster show a little bit later tonight. Of course, with permission. Give me permission there in your email, earthmastermail@gmail.com. And we'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight, unless something major happens. Stay safe out there.